Good evening, everyone. It's Sirant over here in China live. It is Saturday night. Trying out a different kind of live stream tonight. Last weekend, I was using live streaming software so that I could have myself appear in a window and then I could show you videos and things in the background. We could talk about them or discuss them, things of that nature. However, the stream was very, very laggy to my understanding, and the questions were very, very far behind from when they were being asked to when I was able to answer them. So we're going to try it like this tonight. If I do come across something interesting that I want to share with you guys, what I will do is I will just switch cameras like this. And then I can show you little videos on the screen, etc. Just like this. It's not quite as directly, but I'm hoping that the stream will be a little better quality so that people can get a little more. We'll see if we have any visitors here tonight. Hopefully the audio is working okay and everybody can hear me. I just got a message on my phone, so we'll see what people have to say. It is back home in Canada. It is Saturday morning. So, is anybody awake? Is everybody sleeping? They could be. They could very well be, depending on what side of the country you're on. I suppose. I think in Ontario it would be about 10:30 in the morning, and in Vancouver on the west coast it would be 7:30 in the morning. So, could be wrong. Could be 6:30. I can't remember if it's 3 or 4 hours to Vancouver. But either way, oh no, now why are you sending me messages on WeChat, you silly man? Let's see, is my WeChat open? But yeah, if anybody's out there, do a guy a favor, say hello. Let me know if you can hear me. I'm not. Let's see here. Hey, there we go. Ah, yes, okay. What has it recently been the daylight savings time thing going on? Making it 9:40 instead of 10:40 in Ottawa? And can you hear me okay? Is the sound all right? I'm very curious to know. Okay, actually, there are some people here. There are 4 people. Oh, really? That's tonight. Wow. We don't have daylight savings time or time zones in China. It is the same time all the time across the country. Okay, good, good, great. And it appears that the tonight the um, lag isn't too bad at the moment. The lag isn't so bad. So, how is Ottawa this fine Saturday morning? Isn't it? Well, no, it's not true. I did visit Ottawa in my younger days. Oh, isn't that lovely? Oh, that's horrible. My buddy in England, wow, my buddy in England just sent me a video showing a global perspective on the increase in house prices from 20 or from the year 2000 to 2020. And Canada was, of course, the stinker of the lot, um, far surpassing every other country, including England, Spain, Italy, United States. Wow, that's shockingly bad. Um, yeah, that's actually terrible. That's really really well. It's unfortunately not surprising for anybody who lives in Canada. I wonder if I could show that to you here. Let's see here. No, I don't want that. So if I did this, and switch to the front camera. Oh yeah, there we go. That'll work. Okay. So this is the video my friend just showed me from 2000 to 2000 and to 2020. So on the left-hand side is the percentages, and then the year increase starts at 2000 right here. Let's see. Can I make that any bigger? Oh, I think I can make it bigger. There we go. Let's take a look at this together here. So UK's in the lead in the early 2000s, followed by Spain and France. Canada's very close to the United States. And the race is on. Who can jack up the prices the most? Getting to 2010 now. Canada's jumped into third place, of course. Second place in 2011. And there we go. As of 2013. Now watch this. Germany, the house prices actually went down. Look at this. Wow. 2018, 2019. 168% price increase in Canada. Isn't that crazy? Oh, I believe that. Absolutely. Absolutely. The rental prices in Canada are shocking. Um, I did a video where I compared, for example, the place that I live right now. It's a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom high rise uh, that was completely brand new when we moved in, not even renovated, like literally brand new. No one had lived here before. Brand new air conditioning in all the rooms, brand new kitchen appliances, things like that. And it was 4,000 renminbi per month, which is about 800 Canadian dollars. Can you imagine any city in Canada where you could rent a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom high rise apartment in a secure complex with 24/7 security, a gated complex, underground parking, a playground outside, again, a secure playground. You could send your toddlers outside to play and they'd be perfectly safe for $800 a month? Not possible. You'd be more likely to catch a unicorn. It's horrible. Really. It is absolutely terrible. As a matter of fact, I just showed the video that you sent me on my live stream, and yeah, that is insane. Absolutely nuts. Uh, my friend was just pointing out to me on WeChat that not only the price is going up like that, more so than any other country in the world, the fact that there's such a low population density, it makes no sense. It's nothing more than absolute gouging of Canadian citizens. Good evening, Mike. And in case I forgot to say it earlier, good evening, work in progress. Yeah, that was pretty eye opening. We are planning on buying a house very soon. The market now in China has dropped to a point where um, my wife, being the financial analyst and smart money person that she is, has decided that it's the right time for us to actually buy. And now that I'm no longer working, there's no reason for us to stay in the city. So we're looking at purchasing a place only about 45 minutes on the subway, not long distance transportation or anything, but on the subway. There's another city nearby called Huizhou that is substantially cheaper because it's not so close to the central business districts or the central manufacturing districts in Shenzhen. So we're looking at getting a place there, hopefully about the same as this, 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, for between 100 and 150,000 Canadian dollars, all in. Um, that'll include the taxes, all property taxes, forever. There won't be any more property taxes, at least in our lifetime. You know what I mean? Um, that's going to be everything, right? Purchase a house or an apartment like that, or possibly a place even further outside, where we could live more in the countryside. But yeah, that's. Can you imagine what can you buy in Canada these days for 150,000 Canadian dollars when it comes to real estate? You know, it's ridiculous. Yeah, no, there's no property tax. You pay a certain fees, and I don't know the exact details, but there are certain fees you pay up front when you purchase a house or an apartment. But that's it. There's no annual property taxes. Um, it's your house. It's that's it. You're not going to get kicked out for missing a damn payment. Bobby Kagan. Is that how you pronounce it? Bob Kagan. Ooh, I got to look that one up. That sounds interesting to me. Bob Kagan, Ontario. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. A property transaction fee. There you go. But certainly, there's no annual property taxes. That's for sure. Bob Kagan. Kagan. I lived in Ontario for a while, but never found me no Bob Kagan. Wow, there's a song even. Wow. 15-hour flight from Los Angeles to Bob Kagan is $454. 90 minutes northeast of the Greater Toronto area. Okay. Oh, what is it famous for? Deemed as the hub of the Kawarthas. Home to Lock 32, the first lock and most visited on the Trent Severn Waterway. Okay. Interesting. Bob Cajun. Okay, cool. Thank you. Yes, anonymous. That is that would be my preference personally. Um, I've lived in cities all my life. I worked on a farm in Alberta when I was younger, and I did spend a lot of time living out there. But I would love to live out in the countryside. But I just don't think the missus is quite ready for that yet. I mean, um, she still wants some of the comfort of city life, that's for sure. But we certainly don't need to be in Shenzhen anymore. We've been in Shenzhen for 20 years, and it's a great city. It's a beautiful city. She is also looking at some houses in the Longgang district, which is the neighborhood I used to live in um, when I first came back in 2023, and that neighborhood was okay. Aside from the fact that we lived right next door to a very active construction site, which was annoying, um, the neighborhood was gorgeous. I had fitness centers and gyms all over. I had beautiful restaurants, shopping centers. I had the stadium just down the street where I'd go ride my little public bicycles every day. I just go. It was fantastic riding around. I do 20 kilometers a day, just driving in circles around the stadium, and it was fantastic. We had beautiful parks to ride in. I do miss that neighborhood a lot. It really was a lot of fun. I really truly enjoyed it. But we came over here for my job, and you know that was okay. While I was working, then my boss turned out to be a dick, to be honest. And yeah, that all kind of came crashing down in the long run. His poor management practices and utter lack of respect or understanding for Chinese culture has just driven the company into a hole. And yeah, there's no way it's coming out. And unfortunately, my position was, shall we say, downsized. But yeah, so that kind of sucks. I mean, realistically, I would have preferred to stay in that neighborhood and not taken the job had I known. Oh, I would love to go to Yunnan. I've talked about it with the wife many times, but she's still set on the Shenzhen area more so than anything else. I'm not sure why. Maybe I'll get her now that I've got more free time, as it were. I will take her on a trip there and kind of show her around. Maybe yeah, something like that. That'd be fantastic. I would love to go up there. There's nothing really here in Shenzhen holding us here anymore. Yeah. Here, I'll show you. I'll show you my stadium where I used to go bike riding back when I was a furry guy. Uh, Show a bit of that. Oh, hello. Woot, 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 woot. There we go. Yeah, the buildings that you see in the background there, that's where I live. I loved going to the stadium. This stadium was great. In the daytime, when everybody was working, there'd be nobody there, and I could just do laps. Each lap was approximately a kilometer, depending on how close or far away from the stadium you were. If you were out on the outer edge, it was a kilometer. So, of course, that's where I stay, and yeah, it was beautiful. There were no people, it was quiet, no motorcycle traffic, no bicycle or scooter traffic, no cars, obviously. Um, that's the basketball stadium had, uh, this area with the security guard here is, it's all built up now. There's a man-made lake in that area with, cafes and restaurants all around it. It's really beautiful at night. The building straight ahead here that you see is, 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools, a badminton center, an indoor gym. To the left is a huge outdoor soccer field. Yeah, well, I'm gonna go regardless. My wife is also a YouTuber, and, she also social media, uh, for Chinese social media sites, so she spends a lot of her time actually researching her videos. She's a stock market expert. So it's hard for me to drag her out of the house sometimes. That's why my plan now that I'm gainfully unemployed is to just start hopping on the high speed trains myself and going off into China and finding those interesting little places. The places I really want to find are those interesting little areas where, for those of you that have been to China before, when you hop on the high speed train and say you're going from Shenzhen to Jian in Jiangxi province, there will be 6 or 7 stops in smaller cities along the way that I've never heard of, I've never been to before. Those are the kind of places I want to stop and just get off the train, find my way into the middle of the city, book myself a hotel room, and then go exploring and just see what I can find. Those are the kind of adventures I'm looking for now. And my wife won't be interested in at all in going with me. And unfortunately, I don't have a lot of friends left here that either have the time or ability to go on such adventures with me. Either they're working, or they've got families and other stuff going on. So it's going to be just me heading off into the wilds of China on my own, probably renting little bicycles when I get to those little cities and areas, and finding out if I can ever get lost in China. Yeah, the building, like I said, the buildings behind are where that's the area. The buildings I lived in were just a little bit more to the right. But yeah, I put 1,000 kilometers in 2023 on those little blue public bicycles. I tell you, I rode them every day. I rode them all throughout the neighborhood. That's how I find out what my neighborhood is all about. I just hop on my bike and I ride. I go check everything out. Fantastic place. This is called Dayun, the Universiade Park. That's one thing that I really appreciate about China as well. They build up these big parks for like the and fitness facilities, stadiums, things like that. This was built for the Universiade Games in 2011, and as opposed to other places, like in Calgary in Canada, where the facilities for the Winter Olympics just kind of went downhill, and to my knowledge, they never really did anything with them. Whereas here, all the facilities are still open and can and are used on a daily basis. All of these barricades that you're seeing in the middle here are not there on a regular basis. There is a concert coming up. So when the concert is going, this entire area, the outdoor area, is part of the concert venue. So when you buy a ticket to go in, you can go and sit in your seats, watch the concert. You can have a picnic outside. It's very, very cool. Yes, that's another thing that we're considering is getting an RV camper and heading off into the wilds of China. Definitely, that would be a very, very fun activity. Another nice thing about these places, those bathrooms, they have Western toilets inside as well as the squat pots. They're perfectly clean. They're very, very nice. There's machines to get drinks, basketball courts, tennis courts, everything in this area. I loved it. Yes. Yeah, RVing is becoming a big recreational activity in China right now. Lots of people are getting into it, to the point that's another business idea that I'm considering for the not too distant future is to pick up a piece of land and turning it into an RV park outside of the city. The government is actually offering incentives to people offering those kind of businesses because they are really, really desperately encouraging people to start leading a healthier lifestyle. And I have a video coming up in the not too distant future that I'm working on now about the unfortunate but growing obesity epidemic in China. It shot up to, I think, 1.4, from 1.4 or 1.5% obesity rate when I first came to China 20 years ago, to now sitting at about 15%, which in 20 years is an enormous jump. And it's very, very noticeable. When I used to walk around China when I first, because I'm a big guy, obviously, when I used to walk around China when I first got here, I would get people staring at me and going, "Wow," because I was the biggest thing they'd ever seen, right? And I wasn't offended by it. If anything, I thought it was very interesting that they were so shocked to see somebody like me, whereas back in Canada, I kind of looked like everybody else. In fact, I'm one of the smaller members of my Canadian family now. But here I was a monster. However, now people don't see me as a monster at all. There are young men and women walking around on those streets out there that make me look like a little guy, and it's kind of crazy. Yep, yep. There, like I said, the government is really pumping that business model. They really like it. They are encouraging people to get out and to travel and to enjoy their lives, which is a good thing, I think. But I miss this. I miss this. I used to do this so much when I wasn't working. Just get on my bike and ride. Just see what I could on a daily basis. Let me flick the camera back here. Zoom. There we go. But yeah, I've never done RV in the past in Canada. That was always a rich man's game. I could never afford it. Camping, yes, absolutely. I've done my fair share of camping, but never RVing. Yes, the subscribers, I have to say, um, quite honestly, I think I have Donald Trump, DJ Tariff, to thank for my recent growth in subscribers, to be honest. Uh, Hello, Embracing Logic. Nice to see you. For the longest time, I mean, I've been making YouTube videos since 2006, 19 years. In the past, well, and yes, 90% of those videos were all made here in China. In the past, though, as you can see behind me, I've got ukuleles there, and I've got a Merlin over here. I've got a banjo over here. I made a lot of music videos, and people really liked them. But because they were typically copyright music, I was teaching people to play popular songs. Um, I never was able to achieve partner status or monetization, or even I never got past 3,000 subscribers. But when I came back to China, I decided, well, I really want to share more than just my music. I want to share my life, my experiences in China. And it was a very slow start. But then after the big TikTok ban and debacle, that changed everything because the world started looking at China more specifically then. It wasn't just a niche group of people that were interested in China, it was a lot of people looking and going, hey, this isn't what we remember. That doesn't look like the China that they told us about for all those years. Let's check this out. So yeah, I'm very happy to be reaching more people. That's quite exciting and quite interesting. Yeah, and I'm hoping that my new videos moving forward are going to be even more interesting. And you know, that is interesting. I never went to Mexico. I had lots and lots of friends who went to Mexico, always on the all-inclusive deals, where they'd pay $1,500 and then it was all their booze, food, all the activities in the hotel. But then they'd show me their pictures and there'd be like guards with machine guns, basically keeping the people in and keeping the bad guys out. But I heard so many stories, about people getting sick and about the terrible things that happened to them when they were there. But there's always a theme that went along with that. And that was, when I'd say, well, what were you doing when you got robbed by those six guys? Well, I was really, really drunk and coming home from a bar. Oh, okay. So the really drunk part is a big feature. Yes. However, on the other side, I have an old friend who he spent a good part of his middle age working in Canada, up in Fort McMurray in Alberta, as a heavy equipment operator for 6 months of the year. And then he would go to Cuba for 6 months of the year. And he loved it there. He said the people in Cuba, the Cuban people, were the kindest and most warm-hearted people he'd ever met in his entire life. He traveled around the country. He loved every second of it. And he would only go back to work for 6 months, hate every second of that, but just to get enough money so he could go back and stay in Cuba for as long as possible. And he also traveled around Mexico the same way. If you ever suggested to him staying in an all-inclusive place, he'd look at you like you had two heads. That just wasn't something that was in his vocabulary, unfortunately. And he was very taken with the idea of coming to China after talking with me and learning about my experiences. Unfortunately for him, he had respiratory problems, very, very bad respiratory problems. And for whatever reason, and I'll never understand this myself, he picked a northern coal mining town in China to go stay in first. And of course, he had problems with the cold and problems with the climate. So he ended up not staying that long. And in the end, returned to Cuba. And probably, if he's still around, he was quite a bit older guy. If he's still around, he's still going to Cuba or probably living in Cuba permanently now. But I have known people in that travel the same way. They spend their winters in Mexico and absolutely love it. If you're not leading that kind of dangerous party lifestyle, I've heard amazing things about Mexico. But again, it's just one of those places I never. When I lived back in Canada, I never went anywhere. I traveled to Vancouver and to a few different places in Alberta, but up until my early 30s, I never did anything. Coming to China was the big one for me. That was the icebreaker, and yeah, that was meant to be a 1 year contract, and here I am. And since then, I've been to Thailand, Philippines, Korea, Australia, just all over South Asia, all over South China as well, and so many different places, and expanded my horizons so much just from taking that leap and getting out and seeing a little bit of the world. Yeah, exactly, Mike. Stay away from the drugs and the late nights. That is exactly it. All of those countries, all of those countries are the same. It's the same thing in China too. I've heard horror stories here in China from people saying, "Yeah, I, uh, I got into a fight last night. Got the shit kicked out of me by six Chinese dudes." And it's like, "Oh, really?" Yeah. One guy was even hospitalized. A boss of mine from England was hospitalized in China, getting got beaten up so badly. And so I'd ask all these people that got into these fights and had these terrible experiences and were robbed and were cheated and fell victim to these scams, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like the same thing I always ask people when they tell me about something terrible that happened to them in China. What were you doing at the time? Well, we were at the bar. Oh, had you been drinking quite a bit? Well, yeah. Mm. Perhaps did you say something under the influence of alcohol, practicing some of your rude Chinese on the locals, maybe? Well, I might have said something that was taken wrong. Oh, okay, okay. Hmm. Always, always, booze is the prime factor. Now, I'm not a drinker. I don't party. I've been to one nightclub in Shenzhen back when I was in university here. I went with my classmates. Absolutely hated it. Oh my god, worst bar I'd ever been to in my entire life, and that's saying a lot because I don't go to bars. That's just not my scene at all. But yeah, the common denominator with all the people that get into trouble in China is drinking. And this by the same token, I've never had the police show up at my door demanding to see my passport or demanding that I go to the police station every month or give them any kind of information. Nothing like that. I've heard these stories from other people saying they'll get the boom, boom, boom on their door at 11 o'clock at night um, by police officers demanding to see their passports, things like that. And it's like, well, why does that happen to you, but not to me? Is it because I'm a family man? They know I'm home every night at 11 o'clock. When people do come knock on my door in the daytime, I'll answer it. I'm not hiding anything. In most of those cases, the police may have, a lot of the times actually, it was that the foreigners didn't register with the police station as they're supposed to when they move and go to a new area. And that got them into trouble and got them put onto a list. And when you're on that list, you're a troublemaker. And so you've got to check up on the troublemakers all the time. For me, I'm the farthest thing from a troublemaker. And I think for the most part, the Chinese authorities know this. Whenever I go to get my visas or my household registry or go to the police station to register, I'm always smiling. I always chat with the officers in Chinese, wish them a nice day. And then that's it. No problem. I never ever have to worry about people pounding on my door in the middle of the night. Yeah, well, Canada's been too expensive for that for a long time, and it's just getting worse and worse. But you're right. Work in progress. Canadian summer road trips are gorgeous. That's probably the best thing about when the wife and I were back in Canada. We were living in Edmonton at the time, but my kid was in university in Ontario. And I had the opportunity. The company I was working for was opening up a couple new computer stores in Ontario, and asked me if I'd go set them up, hire the staff, get them all up and running, and then manage one of the stores. And I said, well, maybe. And he said, tell you what, I'll ship all of your household stuff. I'll pay for all the shipping, all the moving, and I'll pay you to drive across the country. And the other guys that did the same trip, they drove 12, 13 hours a day, got there in 3 days. I told my boss, no, I'm going to drive maximum 8 hours a day, 6 to 8 hours. I'm going to stop and get a hotel and just take it easy. I'm not going to go balls to the wall to get to the other side of the country. So the wife and I got to, on the company dime, drive all the way from Edmonton to London, Ontario, over the course of 5.5 days. And it was great. My wife, it was a real treat for my wife, who literally got to see almost the entire country, with the exception of the west coast and the east coast, but everything in the middle she got to see, from one side to the other. So it was quite a trip, and it was during COVID, like the lockdowns and everything else at that time. So there was very little traffic on the roads. Very hard to find a toilet. Even the gas stations wouldn't let you use their public restrooms. But yeah, it was a challenging trip, but it was beautiful. It was so nice. We had good weather the whole way. It was great. Oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure that's what my new videos are going to be all about. I use a website called trip.com for booking all my hotel rooms, either in China, Hong Kong, Thailand, wherever I happen to be going. And yeah, it's ridiculous. I was looking at one of the first places I'm going to stay. I'm going to stay in a hotel, believe it or not, across the street from the apartment that I used to live in. Once I get my passport back, um, just for to make a couple specialized videos, because there's a beautiful brand new apartment building. Uh, it's a business tower actually, but they've got a hotel inside. But they're apartment short-term apartment rentals essentially, and I believe it's 30 Canadian dollars a night for a beautiful apartment, in a very, very nice neighborhood. The reason I want to stay overnight, even though I live in Shenzhen, is because across the street is one of the most luxurious hotels in the city. It is absolutely gorgeous. You walk in the front door and you think you're walking into the Royal Palace. It is just amazing. And outside, um, there is a bar called the Whiskey Me. And I'm not a bar goer, but this is more of a lounge than a bar. And I went there once with my British friend, and it's mind blowing. The walls are covered floor to ceiling, 12-foot ceilings, with bottles of imported whiskeys and fine alcohols from all over the world, plush leather couches all over the place. Like it's a scene from a gangster movie, the 1950s gangster movies. It is absolute utter luxury in this bar. And the drinks are a little bit expensive. They're about $20, 20 Canadian dollars for a custom cocktail with a high end alcohol. The service is really good. It's a very, very nice place. But I want to go make a video in there just to show you that if a person wanted to go have a $20 drink, what the options are and the opulence that can be expected in Shenzhen, and then show one of my favorite restaurants in the neighborhood where you can get a giant 650 milliliter bottle of beer and a really, really good meal for $4. So it's the two extremes, but yeah, I figure I'll book a night in one of the nearby very, very low price hotels, and then once I'm out traveling, once I'm out on my own, um, traveling around the country, I'll be staying in rooms that are between $5 and $10 a night, and it's amazing. It's literally amazing, the rooms that you can get here for $5 to $10. It's crazy. I never plan on going back to Canada. I went back while my daughter was going to university, just so that we could be close to her, and also so that I could give her mother a chance to see what life was like in Canada. Because I'd lived in China for a very, very long time, 15 years at that point. And I thought, you know what? I want her to experience Canada and see what she thinks. Um, and we got very, very lucky. While we were there, my wife actually became very, very successful on YouTube. She became the number one Chinese YouTuber in the world when it comes to finance. So that helped us out tremendously. But when I first got back to China or to Canada, I went back a year before the family just to get everything set up. I was literally working 3 jobs to make ends meet, and that's pretty much the norm. Everybody I know, literally everybody I know, is up to their eyeballs in debt, whether it's car loans, credit cards, mortgages, or combination of the three. But yeah, jobs. The How long have you been in China? Embracing logic. The big problem I found was that, see, I'm a computer engineer. I was a senior computer engineer for Hewlett Packard, and for me to go back and try to find a job as a computer engineer now would be pointless. I'm too old. 55. I'm over the hill as far as employers go, and there's no viable job history. Everything that I've done here in China doesn't count for shit in Canada. The only thing that helped me out in Canada was the fact that I could speak Chinese. And that gave me a slight edge in a couple of the jobs I got, because it gave the employers the idea that being bilingual, I was a slightly higher level than typical Canadians who could only speak English. That's why I got my job at BMW selling cars, and it worked. I was very successful at it because I got all the Chinese customers, and Chinese customers were much easier to sell than Canadians. But my boss was a dick and he was ripping me off. So I left that job after 6 months. But even the management job I had at the end, managing one of the top computer chains in Canada, having that Chinese language skill helped, because that would allow me more opportunities to help Chinese customers and make them feel more comfortable. Not that it ever became an issue in Alberta, but yeah, after 8 years, like I said, and all of your related work experience here is not going to count for much in Canada. They're not going to call your references. They're not going to really care what you did here, um, unless you're a teacher here and you're going back to being a teacher in Canada. But the salaries are so low in Canada, and the cost of living, the housing is out of control. The healthcare is so incredibly bad. The entire time I was back in Canada, I was back for over 6 years total. I never got a family doctor. I could never find a family doctor that was willing to accept new patients. The wait times to see doctors and clinics was god awful, even if you booked an appointment. Um, yeah, it's I couldn't imagine getting into a car accident or getting hurt somewhere at a job in Canada and needing to get medical help. To me, that in itself wouldn't be worth it. It's gotten so incredibly bad that I feel safer and healthier here in China than I do than I ever did in Canada, to be honest. Crime is out of control. People are unhappy. People are miserable. But yeah, housing also. Like I said, We were lucky when we were living in Ontario. We were able to rent a full house for $2,000 a month. But the landlord was just itching for us to move out so that he could renovate it and then jack it up to 4,000 a month. And he knew he could do it. He knew he'd be able to get it, but he knew that there was no way in hell that I was going to pay that much. And he put up with me because I helped to fix things around the house. I never bothered him when anything broke. I would just fix it for him. And I paid my rent on time every month religiously. So he couldn't complain about that because he'd had bad tenants before. But yeah, I just found it too difficult to even consider at this point going back. There's just no way. No way. Which part of Canada are you from? Yeah, 10,000 per month in China is way better than 5,000 per month in Canada. Absolutely. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. I mean, the cost of living is so low over here. Oh, Hamilton. Nice. The first store I set up for my company was in Hamilton. Though I believe they're gone now. They've gone out of business. Did you ever hear of Memory Express? Memory Express Computers. I believe it was over on the north side of the city. I wasn't in Hamilton long though. I was just there to build and set up the store, and then I went back and came back to London to set up a store there. Yeah, it's the one of the biggest computer chains in Canada, but they're primarily centered in the west, and they tried expanding out into the east, but the boss expanded a little too far and stretched himself out a little thin and ended up yes, I've been to that Tim Hortons. Actually, the very first Tim Hortons is in Hamilton, and now, of course, there's Tim Hortons in Shenzhen. Oh, there is a charge for your health care. Trust me. I took the H&R Block tax preparers course so I could. We were having a hard time finding a decent accountant to do our taxes when the wife was primarily doing YouTube. And so I took the H&R Block tax preparers course, not to get a job with H&R Block, but just to learn more about the tax system. And yeah, um, it's not horrendous, but the average Canadian pays about $1,200 a year per person for healthcare in Canada. So it's not quite free. And they are privatizing it under our noses. I'm not sure if you've heard how Doug Ford, Dog Ford, as I call him, has ripped off the Canadian taxpayers when it comes to nursing. For 10 years, the nurses got no pay raises or cost of living pay increases, to the point where they were having a hard time paying their mortgages and paying their rents. So they ended up leaving their jobs at the hospitals and going to work for a private nursing firm. And in that private nursing firm, they would send them back to the exact same hospitals they just left, but they would pay them $10 per hour more. So these nurses were going back to their same jobs for a higher salary from a private company. The really shitty thing was is that their salary maybe went from 25 to $30 per hour to 35 to $45 per hour, which would be good. However, the government, the Ford government, was paying those private nursing companies 100 to $150 per hour for those same nurses. So the private companies were making pure profit as opposed to giving those nurses a pay raise. So instead of giving a $10 raise to the nurses to make them at least a little bit more comfortable in their incredibly hardworking jobs, Doug Ford privatized it and is in the process of making it completely privatized at the expense of the Canadian taxpayers, who are paying 3 times more to 5 times more for the exact same jobs. It's ridiculous. Yeah, there's, I mean, there's the whole 51st state argument that people have made. Um, you know, I've been saying that Canada's the 51st state for decades, not because I want it to be, but because Canada doesn't really have a lot of crown corporations anymore. Almost every business in Canada is American, and therefore all of the money that is being made, all the profit is being funneled to America. So it's yeah, I've always said if America ever really wanted to do Canada dirty, they would just take all their shut down all their businesses in Canada, which would mean pretty much everything, right? Oh, of course, it is absolutely better than the privatized healthcare system in America. However, that said, I had friends, two couples that both worked and owned homes in Canada, and both couples, for whatever reasons, they both decided to move to America and work there. And in both cases, the income tax was lower and the salaries for the same jobs were higher. So each of those couples earned more money and paid less in taxes, and therefore were able to pay for a decent, quite a bit above average medical insurance plan, which covered everything that they needed. So even though the medical insurance was higher price, obviously, than in Canada, they were saving more money in taxes and earning more money in salary. So that kind of evened it out. So they got the better healthcare services and didn't end up paying substantially more. And like I said, that's two separate couples that had the exact same experience. I mean, that's why so many professionals now are leaving Canada. They they're either going to, and even not necessarily to America, they're going to Europe, they're going to other places where they can get a better deal, they can get a better quality of life. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Canada, due to our proximity and similarity in cultures, I mean, we've been inundated with American media, news, television, movies. Um, I'm just trying hard to think right now of a purely Canadian TV show or movie these days. Everything seems to come out of America. Of course, they shoot the movies and they do the TV show production in Canada because it's cheaper. But you know, yeah, it's very, very thoroughly integrated. Absolutely. Absolutely. Which is unfortunate. Which is unfortunate. Um, at my last job, I talked a lot with the my coworkers. They'd ask me, it's like, so Canada's so much better a place than America, and I'd say, well, yeah, I guess so. And they'd say, well, tell us something interesting about Canada. Tell us something different. Like, what's a famous food? What's the most famous food in Canada? And they didn't believe me when I told them. I told them poutine. And they said, what's poutine? I said, well, it's French fries with cheese and gravy. And they go, no, you're lying. No, other than maple syrup, for actual food, it's poutine. And I'd have to actually show them a search on Google so they could understand. When I type in most famous food in Canada is poutine. Then they were like, seriously? Yeah. And I said, okay, let's do another test here. Most famous foods in Canada. Poutine, number one. Nanaimo bars, number two. Butter tarts, number three. Right? It's and they just look at me and go, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. That's why Canadians all look like me, unfortunately. But yeah, no, they were quite shocked to hear that our most famous food is French fries with gravy and cheese. But yeah, I love Canada. Don't get me wrong. I would love nothing more than to be rich enough to be able to have a comfortable life in Canada. Have a big house that I could afford. Be able to travel. There's so many beautiful places in Canada to see, but it's not feasible for me anymore. You know, I wasn't born with a silver spoon. I didn't, even though I had good jobs. I didn't have that saving culture behind me to back me up. So Canada is no longer a reality for me. I'm definitely in the right place now. Yeah, I really wish I'd had a chance to go to Mexico, but like I said, I was so jaded from all the tales, all the stories from everybody saying, "Oh yeah, you know, in Mexico they're all inclusive, all inclusive." That's all people wanted to do was go to these all inclusive places and just drink their faces off night and day, and that just wasn't the scene for me. So never appealed to me. Never appealed to me. I mean, here I am. When I came 20 years ago, people were so shocked that I was coming to China. It's like, does China even have electricity? I heard they don't have roads or hospitals. You know, they have no internet in China. Hmm. Okay, I didn't believe them then, but it's amazing. Some people are still shocked to know that I have internet in my house in China. Yeah. Oh yeah. I say this all the time. China is an eating culture. 100%. All of the major festivals have some type of eating involved. All of the big parties and celebrations, eating is involved. The the most common activity for friends to do is to go out and eat something. In Canada, it's to go out and have a coffee or a beer. In China, it's to go eat something, right? Even the local greeting is not "How are you?" It's "Chifan lemao." Have you eaten dinner, or have you had your meal? Right? Yeah, food is the key aspect of Chinese life, which is fantastic. I love that. One of my favorite cooks is my wife's brother. Um, if you look where he cooks, it's amazing. Um, he cooks in a very old and traditional Chinese kitchen in my mother-in-law's. village, not town, not city, but actual village, that is a wood fired stove that he cooks on. And his kitchen that he cooks in has four or five ingredients: salt, pepper, soy sauce, maybe oyster sauce, and one other thing, oil, but that's it. There's nothing else. Yet he creates dozens and dozens of these amazing and delicious foods that all taste different, but it's based on the food that's in the dish as opposed to the sauces, sugars, and spices that he puts onto the dishes. Oh, I love it. I absolutely love Chinese cooking. It is truly, truly amazing. And the unfortunate thing for me is there are just too many delicious foods um, in China. Too many. Okay, I'll find it for you. Give me a second here. I'm actually looking through the videos right now. All right. Okay. Well, here, I'll show you this video here. This is last year for Spring Festival. There won't be sound the way I've got it set up now, but you should get the point. All right. So this is the outside of, well, this is the village. This is where my wife's 85-year-old mother lives, and she refuses to move to the city. This is a more modern home in the village. Huge, huge. And here, I'll get more to the. Yeah, it's really fun for me in the village here because the local people don't speak Mandarin or English, so they only speak the local dialect of Yilinhua. So they yeah, they aren't able to communicate much with me, but that's okay. I have a great time when I'm there anyway, and everybody's so friendly. It doesn't matter. All these chickens, they all belong to different families, and they all get together in gangs and hang out. And then at the end of the night, they'll all just tootle off to their own homes, and the neighborhood dogs leave them alone. So this is my mother-in-law's house, or no, this is the neighbor's house actually. Let me see here if I can. All right. So here's my mother-in-law's house. She still has the water pump in the front yard. They just bought this new gas cooker for cooking rice porridge or noodles in this one. Some rice noodles for lunch. Brand spanking new. Oh, I love the village life slow. You can see you got the old water pump in the middle there. And this is her brother-in-law who's the cook. Oh, he's good. Oh, so delicious. So delicious. All right, and then I'm going to make my way over to the proper kitchen. There's actually two kitchens. There's a small kitchen and there's this one. This is the kitchen. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Her Wi-Fi and her high-speed internet is off the hook. It's just as fast as it is here in the city, in the big city. Her router looks ancient and old, but it works just fine. So this is the kitchen here. This is the setup of the kitchen. So like I said, a few spices on the shelf there. Not a heck of a lot going on. Got all the wood piled up in the corner for cooking. And here's the other few ingredients: the cooking wine, the oil, soy sauce, chicken powder, of course. And then that's where the cooking happens in that giant wok. And then underneath, they just fill up the underneath the lower area with the wood, fire it up, and then way they go. They've got three other dishes for cooking other dishes. And this is the kitchen they actually use. This is not like some museum piece here. This is the actual kitchen where they cook the food on a regular daily basis. This reminds me of something that you'd see at a museum somewhere or at a place in the countryside where they show how people used to live. But this is the real deal. Okay, instead of showing you the chickens, let's see if I can actually show you the cooking going on. Okay, we're getting closer, getting closer. As you can see, I've made a few videos. All right, where are we here? Okay, I think this one is where we see the actual cooking going on. Yeah, so this courtyard is the main living area. Um, my mother-in-law is of the generation that never throws anything away. Everything may possibly be used again in the future, so keep everything. You'll notice that the windows don't have glass in them for in a lot of the rooms. My wife has 3 sisters and 4 brothers. A lot of people at the dinner. Here we go. I'll show you the kitchen here in action. Right now, he's just cleaning the pot from the last dish. I'll show you the inside of the main room of the house where now they're dividing all the food up that was cooked in the main kitchen into smaller dishes to be put on the individual tables. There's another one of my brother-in-laws. There's my mother-in-law. No air conditioning. Couple fans though. All of these dishes were cooked in that kitchen. Every dish tastes different and amazing, and it's all based on the foods that were mixed together as opposed to sauces and spices to make everything taste different. These dishes were so delicious, and this isn't even all of them. Um, there's still more coming. They just had to make more room on the table. There's the missus handing out the red envelopes to all the relatives and the young people. They all like it. And look at that. This is kind of an overview from upstairs of the courtyard. So yeah, quite a contrast from the modern life in Shenzhen, but yeah, I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it out there. I could totally live in a place like that. I'm of the age where, yeah, I don't need the big city. I don't need the movie theaters and the shopping malls and all the fancy stuff. All I need is some peace and quiet. Um, and then I can go find and make my own adventures. So who knows what the future will bring, but I'm looking forward to it in any case. Let me flip this back around here. There we go. Let's see here. No, this was in Guangxi province in the countryside in my wife's village for Chinese New Year. And yes, anonymous, absolutely. I've been in the most remote areas possible in Jiangxi province and had perfectly clear 5G signals everywhere. On the tops of the mountains, in the valleys, in Guangxi, in the middle of the countryside, in the village. However, like I said, my mother-in-law has fantastic high-speed internet in her home. However, with 5G, I find other than when I'm at home, I very rarely use Wi-Fi. In the past, whenever you'd go to a restaurant or a Starbucks or McDonald's or anywhere out in public, you'd always be connecting to their Wi-Fi. I don't even bother. Even when I stay in hotels in China, I don't even bother to connect to the Wi-Fi anymore because the 5G is just that fast and that good. So it doesn't matter. There's really no need. The 5G speeds are amazing. So I just rely on that more than anything else. Well, I don't know, Highland. I have never run across a spot yet that doesn't have 5G. I have 5G on the trains. I have 5Gs in the remote villages in Jiangxi province, Guangxi province, maybe in some of the ultra remote areas, but 5G coverage now I think is across the board. I haven't found one place that doesn't have 5G coverage. And in fact, when I was in Jian in Jiangxi province, the 5G signal there was faster than it is here in Shenzhen. It was amazing. So yeah, and even when my wife and I are driving on the highway in the middle of nowhere, beautiful high speed 5G everywhere. Yeah, I've never in since coming back in 2023, I've never experienced a 4G signal anywhere. Always 5G. Yeah. Even like I said, even in that village that I was just showing you there, 5G. 5G all the way. Yeah, China has been making massive gains when it comes to the 5G technology. It is simply unbelievable. Top notch. And with my new phone, I love this phone. Best phone I've ever owned in my life. This is an Oppo Find X8 Pro, and it has the best camera. It has a Hasselblad camera, best camera of any phone I've ever used before in my entire life. It's amazing. So this is the phone I use primarily for making videos outdoors and when I'm traveling. And then I've got my DJI Osmo Action 4 camera for putting on my backpack when I'm out walking, hiking around, or when I'm doing, for example, a restaurant or a food shoot, so that I can have it up in the corner and have the wide screen so I can get the whole table. I used to use my iPhone, which I'm using right now as a webcam, um, just because it's so much better than my old crappy webcam that I was using before. But my iPhone, most of my videos in China, I made on this particular iPhone. And whereas the camera on the iPhone is good, I hate everything else about iPhones. I'm not a big fan. But this Oppo, this Chinese brand Oppo, is fantastic. I absolutely love it. And yeah, never had a problem with 5G. Never, ever, ever had a problem with 5G anywhere. Uh, Stunning. That's one of the reasons I didn't get a Huawei phone when I first came back to China. Was at that time Huawei didn't have the 5G chips yet, so I instead went with a Huawei, or sorry, with an Oppo, my old Oppo, which is a great phone. I still have it to this day. This little guy here. The only bad thing about this particular phone, it still works perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with this phone at all. However, the camera is not fantastic, and the video quality was not good. It doesn't have any kind of motion stabilization or anything like that. However, it was 1,500 RMB, so it was really cheap. It lasted me 2 years, and then I finally decided to upgrade to the big daddy here. And yeah, like I said, this phone is just, it's amazing. It is utterly and truly amazing. Who my Chinese？我的普通话是马马虎虎的，真的不太好。可是我可以去旅行、买东西、吃东西，所以 it's okay. My Chinese is good enough to get around in China. I do actually. If you look over here, right here, those are all the HSK books which I am studying. Um, Not quite as diligently recently because I was at work all day long, so I was less motivated to study. However, now that I'm not working anymore, I definitely will be going back into my HSK. Uh, I do read a little bit of Chinese as well. I can write my name, but yeah, I'm learning to read and Chinese, and yes, I do speak enough Chinese. I understand a lot more at this point than I'm able to speak. Before going back to Canada for that extended break, my Chinese was a lot better because I was using it every single day. Whereas now it's coming back very, very quickly. So people often ask me, it's like, well, when you go off to go do these things, like when you go to have a massage, or when you go to the doctor, or when you go to a restaurant or to a movie theater, or any of those places, who do you go with? I say, nobody. They said, but do the people speak English? No. So how do you talk to them? In Chinese. I mean, I do have this little device here, which is really, really, really quite good. I bought it when I first got back. So you can push this button here and you can speak in English. And when you let go, it will translate it into Chinese, and then vice versa. If I push the button on the other side, another person can speak Chinese. And when I let go, it'll translate it into English. I've never used it. I just took it out of my desk here, and that's where I leave it. Probably when I go traveling in the countryside, I'll bring that with me. But I don't even use the translation apps on my phone. I typically try to muddle my way through speaking Chinese because that's, in my honest opinion, the easiest way to learn. Well, thanks for joining Work in Progress. It was good talking to you. Yeah, we'll see you next time. I'm going to be doing these live streams every weekend. I think on Saturday nights will be my live stream night. So whatever time it is for you now, that'll be the time I'll be doing my streams in the future. Triple H, I do not speak Cantonese. No. I've never really needed to. Here in Shenzhen, the vast majority of the people were speaking Mandarin anyway. And Cantonese is slowly disappearing, which is unfortunate. It really is. But I can understand a little bit of Cantonese. And I obviously can tell the difference when somebody's speaking Cantonese, Baihua, as opposed to Putonghua. I completely know the difference, but yeah, I never got into it. Unfortunately, when I was going to Shenzhen University to study Mandarin, at that time, the Mandarin courses would be in the morning, and then in the afternoon would be the supplemental or optional courses. And one of those courses was Cantonese, and I was very, very interested in learning some basic Cantonese. But unfortunately, being a family man, I would go to school from 8 o'clock in the morning until noon. to learn Mandarin, and then I would go directly from there to work, and I would work from 2 o'clock in the afternoon until 10 o'clock at night. At which time I would go home and do the day's homework till 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning, and then do the same cycle over and over again. So I never got to do any of the culture classes, the calligraphy classes, the cooking classes, Cantonese classes, anything like that, which was a really, really big shame. Um, so yeah, I would have liked to have learned more Cantonese, but at this point, I think for the foreseeable future, getting my Mandarin to a higher level is much, much more important. That'd be me. However, that said, my wife has very recently been teaching herself piano with unbelievable skill. She's teaching herself from books, and you wouldn't know it. Her piano skills have gone through the roof, and she was never a musical person. Whereas me, I'm the exact opposite. Hold on, one of my headphones here is starting to run out of juice. But I didn't know I was a musician until I was in my early 30s, actually, right before I came to China. And right over on this side here, you can see I've got a ukulele. And I used to have over 20 ukuleles. You can see two in the screen here now, one over there and one here. I've got another really nice one on the wall here and an electric one. That's pretty much all I've got for ukuleles now. But I do have an erhu. I have a I believe that's a chin chin behind it, the Chinese banjo, 3-string banjo. I've got a Merlin on the other side over here, which is a combination of a guitar and a dulcimer. I've also got flutes and harmonicas and basically any kind of instrument I can find. I will try to play it and pick it up. My wife has recently bought um, a the it's on the tip of my tongue. Another famous traditional Chinese instrument, and the guqin, maybe. Oh, I can't remember. I can't remember. But yeah, she's been more into calligraphy. She's very much embraced calligraphy at this time. So um, yeah, but I like to play all sorts of different musical instruments. That's what I used to do on YouTube for 14, 15 years. Was I just played music. Yeah, my Arhu is not particularly fancy. It's I need to rewrap the top string for holding the metal strings in place. But I love the Arhu. The Arhu is truly one of my favorite Chinese instruments. When played well, it is absolutely gorgeous. And I can play it a little bit, but it's not in tune at the moment, and it's yeah, it's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take a little bit of time. But yeah, my main weapon of choice is this: is the little ukulele here. Love the ukulele. This actually was my secret weapon when I came to China. Having no teaching experience whatsoever, going into a classroom in the countryside of China with a group of kids, also from the countryside in China, obviously, in an experimental program that had never spoken English before. Their families did not learn English. They were either farmers or laborers. And so the Chinese government was trying to create this experimental program to take these kids from non-English environments, any kind of English environment at all, put them into these classes and teach them English. And it wasn't going very well. A big part of the problem was that the books they were using were meant for Mexico. They weren't meant for Chinese or even generic English students. So they had a lot of words in there like pesos, quesadillas, the words that the kids didn't understand. And they were very, very poorly written. And the kids would have a 45-minute class with me 4 times a week. And they didn't like the classes. They didn't want to learn English. However, when they met me and saw my little ukulele, it immediately drew their attention. And every eyeball in the class was staring at me with this ukulele. And so I made them a deal. I said, okay, for 25 minutes a day, we're going to use the stupid books. And yes, they're stupid books, but that's okay. We're going to practice English. Then for the last 20 minutes of every day, I'm going to teach you English songs, and we're going to sing them together with the ukulele. And that's a method that I used for the next 20 years. My entire teaching career in China was based on this, using this little tool. And it works for everybody, whether the kids are 5 years old or 50. Adult students, teenagers, middle age, preteens, babies, they all love this. And when I would play this and I would sing them English songs, they would listen. And then I would teach them the words and they would sing with me. And it was guaranteed to work every single time. And that's basically that's my entire teaching career in a nutshell, was making the teaching interesting and active enough so that my students wanted to come to class. They wanted to learn, whether it was because they wanted to learn music or just because I was a fun and energetic teacher, kept everything active and exciting. That said, that's why I don't really want to be a teacher anymore. It takes a lot of energy. Teachers are very hardworking people. They really are. I have a lot of respect. I have nothing but respect for teachers, whether in China or anywhere else in the world. It is one of the toughest jobs out there, but it's one of the most important jobs because the kids are the future. Giving that gift of education to children is the most important thing that you can give them in their entire life. So that's why I put as much effort into it as I did. And that's why now I'd rather have fun with people and help them learn English that way, as opposed to doing it again in a classroom with 60 kids all screaming and rah! But yeah, I did that for many, many years. many years. And like I said, this was my secret weapon. This is actually a gift. I got this from one of my students. I was very shocked when he actually gave me this, because this is the most valuable ukulele that I own, and in fact the most valuable instrument that I've ever owned. This is solid Hawaiian koa wood. It's from a very, very famous Nui Nui Hawaiian brand manufacturer. And my student, I taught him how to play, and I taught him English, and I taught him how to sing, because he was going to university in America. And I told him, I said, if you learn to play this and you sing sweet songs, all the girls are going to love you. They're going to smile at you. You're going to become so much cuter. And he took it to heart, and he really put a lot of effort into learning how to play this amazing instrument. And so as a show of appreciation, before he went to university, he bought me this. and he bought himself the same one from a shop in Hong Kong. So we both have the same ukuleles. But yeah, it is the nicest and most beautiful instrument I've ever owned. It is truly amazing. Yes, teachers have to be very patient. Teachers have to be absolutely very patient, and that's one of the failings of a lot of teachers. Really, is that they don't have patience. And a lot of foreign teachers here in China too, especially in the past. 10, 15 years ago, you didn't need a degree to teach in China. Anybody who is a native English speaker could teach in China, which was good and bad. It was good in that it gave a lot of people an opportunity to get out and see the world who might not have ever seen the world. It gave people a chance to go on a working holiday, as it were. Um, and of course, that also gave exposure to China for the rest of the world as well. But a lot of people came here to become teachers that shouldn't have been. They were here because they got easy money, low hours, and they thought it was just going to be a working vacation. They thought that they didn't have to put effort into it. Nothing worse than seeing a teacher who goes to class with their laptop, plugs it into the TV or the projector, and says, "Okay, kids, we're going to watch a movie today. We'll watch half of it today, and then we'll watch half of it tomorrow, and then we'll talk about it." And then they sit at their desk while the kids are watching a cartoon and they play on their phones, and that's what they consider teaching. That's horrible. That is not how teachers are supposed to work. I've been a head teacher for many, many years in public and private schools, and I had much, much higher expectations for my teachers. Some of them didn't like me for that because they expected an easy job and to get away with whatever they could. I didn't allow it. So, yeah, they didn't like me. But yes, that is a beautiful and very expensive ukulele. I can't believe how much he paid for it. But like I said, he was very, very thankful for me teaching him not just English, but music and how to play the instruments, so that I'm sure he had a great time when he went to university in America with that. I'm sure he was the uh, the belle of the ball, the favorite guy at the party. And I've got this ukulele too, which has a Chinese story to it as well. Due to making YouTube videos in the past, um, I met a guy in America. I've never met him in person, but he wanted to start selling ukuleles. And he had the place for it. He had everything all set up. And he had a manufacturer picked out in Guangzhou, but he wasn't sure. So he contacted me through my YouTube channel, and he asked me if I would be willing to go to Guangzhou, where the factory was, meet the owner of the factory, talk to him, and go on a tour of the factory and actually see the production of the ukuleles, see the process, and actually try them out and play them and see what I thought. And so I said, sure, why not? And in return, he actually sent me this. Now, this, if you bought this in America, this is a cherry wood ukulele, solid top, beautiful, very, very nice sounding. So I went to the factory and checked it out. And I said, yeah, no, this seems legit. It's very, very nice. And this actual factory in Guangzhou produces some of the top guitar, ukulele, and other instruments in the world as OEM products, which are then rebranded to other companies. Now, this particular brand is called Mainland. I don't play this one as much anymore, which is why it's a little bit dusty. Apologies there. But as you'll notice, there's this logo here that is actually a rope. And for the longest time, my buddy in America he couldn't come up with an idea for the logo for his ukuleles. He wanted the rope braiding style around the edges, but he couldn't think of something that worked for the logo. And so actually, I designed this logo. This is, and it was very, very easy to do. It was designed using an old Microsoft Office font called Rope. And I put a curve in it. And that's exactly how I got this ukulele, was by designing the logo and checking out the factory for him. So he sent me this one for free. Now, to buy this in America would be about $350 US. So it is a rather pricey one, but it's very bright, it's very loud. My fingers are not what they used to be, but yeah. So yeah, the ukulele stories. I used to have 20. But when I went back to Canada, coming back to China this time around, I sold everything. Including this. I'll show you this too. This is my most happy instrument in China. This is a Seagull Merlin knockoff. The actual Seagull Merlin company is in Canada. It's in Quebec. And this, you'll notice that the fret pattern here is quite odd. This is a combination of a dulcimer and a guitar. Very, very unique instrument. Very, very easy and difficult to play at the same time. And I've had two of these. I gave one of these to my best friend when I left China the first time, and I had another one in Canada, but it's just too big to fit in a suitcase. And coming back to China, I got rid of everything. So I sold this, and I thought I'm never going to get one again, because to get one here in China would have been about 3,000 or 4,000 renminbi, because they're made in Canada and would have to be shipped here. However, thanks to the magic of Taobao, I searched and I found this local brand. I don't know if you'll be able to see that here. Let me see. Called Rainy. And basically, this Rainy is an exact replica of the Seagull Merlin, just with nicer wood. I was so amazed and so happy to be able to find this. Let's see if this is in tune. Very folky, very traditional type of instrument. Very, very nice. I love this. Hey, I didn't even think of that. Black Myth Wukong. Oh, I love it. I love it. Like I said, this made my day last year when I found this online, because I honestly thought I was never going to have one of these again. If you look back in some of my older videos, you'll see that I played this instrument a lot, because there are certain features of it. It's very difficult to play a C chord, for example, on this instrument. You'd have to basically stretch your fingers out very, very far to be able to do it. It's difficult. And so I taught people how to transpose so that they could play the songs that they wanted to, but just in different ways. But yes, it's a very medieval sounding instrument. Absolutely. Very similar to the dulcimer style. very, very cool. And like I said, a lot of people will crap on China for saying, oh, they imitate everything, they copy everything, it's so terrible. You know what? In this situation, I am so happy that they copy this, because I couldn't imagine having another one of these without actually physically going back to Canada, buying one, and bringing it back with me. Now I have one, and I love it. I love it so much. But yeah, I have a huge collection of, even now, of instruments. Another one, probably can't see. Now, this is, of course, a Chinese instrument. And this is my Chinese banjo. 3-string. No brand name. This instrument has a very interesting tuning. It's not easy to play. Ooh. I have to relearn this one again, but I love it. I always wanted a banjo, but banjos are so expensive in Canada. But here, I think I paid $20 for this one. Yeah, I eventually want a better quality Arhu as well, but I'm in no rush for the new Arhu yet. Like I said, I'm not even going to attempt to play this now. My string is hanging down. It's not even attached here. I haven't waxed the strings in a long time either. Not even going to attempt it. It's way out of tune, but it's in quite good shape. It's not a bad little beastie. I'm hoping someday, once we get settled in, to find some old guy out there that I can hang out with and will teach me a little bit of Arhu. That would be fun. But yeah, I love the traditional Chinese instruments. The Merlin with nylon strings would be great. But I've never tried it. I don't know anybody that ever has. Might be something to look into, actually. Now that you mention that, I'll have to look into that. I would love it to have nylon strings. That would be so much easier for my fingers. Put all my toys away. Yes, I love different instruments. I've got more instruments here. This is another fantastic instrument. The melodica. The first time I ever saw one of these was in China, and they give these to kids here not to teach them how to play piano, but how to get used to playing wind instruments. I don't want to play too much right now, as it is after midnight. I don't want to annoy my neighbors. I've also got this little flute here. Well, a little what do they call these things? I can't remember the name. Lovely. It's got the rooster on it, which is my Chinese zodiac animal. But yeah, this is what I did for most of my YouTube career in China in the past. It's only been in the past 2 years that I've been actively making videos, kind of sharing my adventures in China, and talking more about life in China in general. And I'm happy that I did make that change. It's been really good. I've been enjoying it a lot, and as I've said a number of times, I'm looking forward to moving ahead into the next chapter where I actually take the show on the road. I pack up my little bag. I've got my little mini PC in front of me here. It's a little Chinese made PC. It's tiny. It's absolutely fantastic. It's very nice and powerful, yet inexpensive. It's more than enough for video editing. Um, you can play games on this guy. You can surf the internet. I can record and edit my videos on this while I'm on the road, and it fits in a backpack. I just have my little portable keyboard and mouse that I take with me. I've got a little portable screen that I bring with me as well when I'm traveling. However, I also bring an extra HDMI cable so I can plug this if I wanted to directly into the television in the hotel room. So I have a big screen, but yeah, I'm also a mini PC enthusiast. The PC that I'm using right now, my main PC, is bigger than this, but it's still a mini PC. However, it's a beast. It has, even though it's very, very small, it's only this big. Again, will fit in the backpack very easily. Um, it does have a GPU in it, as well as a Ryzen 9 5900. I can play Black Myth Wukong on it, no problem. I can play any of the AAA games on it, no problem. Video editing, I do all of my video editing. I'm doing this live stream on it right now, but I do love Chinese mini PCs. So yeah, this is my little travel beast. When I when I was working at the shitty job, um, because it was a corporate environment, they of course didn't allow me to have my own software and applications, things like that, on their company PC without their permission. So I just brought that to work with me, and I used that as my work PC every day. And I loved it. I've got another one sitting over just next to it over here that I have my live stream from Live Cam Ant running on there 24/7, which again, I have that computer dedicated just to run the live stream. But yeah, I absolutely. Oh, is my live stream down? Oh, could be, could be. It does go up and down due to the fluctuations in the VPN from time to time. That's why I took it off my main stream here, because I had a number of people saying that every time the live stream went down and then went back up again, they'd get new notifications, and it kind of annoyed people. But yeah, I don't want to annoy people, so I took it down. But hey, everyone, it's looking like it's about 12:40 in the old AM here. So, and we've been going here for 2 hours, so that's all right. I do plan on doing these live streams on Saturday nights. From the looks of it, the chat is a lot smoother tonight. So I'm using a different VPN tonight than I was before. I'm using the iPhone as my webcam, which might be part of it. And I am not using a third party streaming software. Maybe next weekend I'll try the streaming software again just to see if it gets that lag, because there was at one point last weekend, people were telling me there was like 6 to 8 minutes between when they would type a question in to the chat and I would respond. So that was getting excessive. There was just a little bit too much lag, and I could understand that as being annoying. So if that's the case, I'll just keep doing it like this. But yeah, Saturday nights here. If you're in North America, that'll be Saturday mornings. I will continue to do these live streams. And if you have any questions or anything you want to ask me, and I missed your comment, or sometimes seems these days a lot of comments are disappearing. Um, I'm not censoring them, so it must be YouTube for whatever reason. I don't know if it's a glitch. I can't imagine. From what people are telling me about the type of comments they are, it's nothing controversial or weird or profane or rude. Just for whatever reason, they don't show up. So if that happens and there's something you want to ask me more directly, by all means, come on back to the live stream. But for now, I am going to call it a night. Thank you very much. There's a new video coming out tomorrow, which is going to outline my latest visa process and just exactly how unbelievably and inexplicably easy it was this time. I don't get it, but I love it. I'm very happy to say it's all done. And so in under a week from tonight, I will have my passport in hand. So once that is in my hand, I will be traveling, and I'll be sharing some new locations and adventures with all of you. But thank you once again for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all of you and your support. And if you haven't hit subscribe, I appreciate it if you did. And if you haven't, throw me a thumbs up. It's up to you, but it really helps. And otherwise, thanks again, and we will see you in the next video.